Cherry and I have created our legal entities, Legal Limited Partnership, or LP for short, and LLC, Limited Liability Company, to begin writing offers and owning income properties in the USA. Welcome to the Truth About Real Estate Investing show. And it's allergy season, so I may sound a little bit off. My name is Erwin Cito, a 20-year landlord in Ontario, Canada, an investment specialist realtor with over 300 past clients, transacting on close to $500 million of income properties since 2010 with my team at iWin Real Estate. In my experience, the writing is on the wall for investing in Canada versus the USA. Hence, I'm selling off a significant portion of my portfolio here in Canada to diversify in the US. And I haven't been this excited since I first got into real estate investing. Where am I investing? Which is possibly one of the most popular questions I receive. There are historic levels of investment going on in the USA. We get some of that in Canada as well, with in St. Thomas, Ontario, and in Windsor, Ontario, they're getting battery manufacturing jobs. In the States, they have so much more. And also they have microchip manufacturing being built out in the States, along with car manufacturing, specifically around electric vehicle assembly, battery manufacturing, and there's so much to choose from. It's actually hard to focus in on which city to invest in. How I chose my target areas? Well, I looked for the intersection of towns and cities with the best of the best past, as in like places that are growing in population. These are household name cities, I would think. I can get wonderful value there. I can still get wonderful values in these cities, as in I can get a 3-bedroom detached house for between $200,000 to $300,000 with historic levels of manufacturing investment going on, which includes the creation of high-paying manufacturing jobs. The creation of high-paying manufacturing jobs means my future tenants will have great growing income to afford my rent, my preferably growing rent, because there is no rent control. And people naturally migrate to areas with affordable real estate prices and high-paying jobs. But I'm in this for the long term, so I need stability of employment, stable growing employment, because without a growing industry or unemployment, the real estate market will not go up. If you don't believe me, simply Google Foxconn investment in Wisconsin. I've actually posted a link to an article in Wikipedia about the specific project in Wisconsin. It didn't work out. Or look at Fort McMurray in Alberta, which had all the rage. Everyone was talking about Fort McMurray back in like 2007, and it's since been decimated by the downturn of the oil industry, lack of oil investment, the change in tone of our government, and of course forest fires. Yeah, maybe stay away from climate change risk and insurance risk. Hence, like hurricanes hit places places I'm avoiding, including Houston, Texas. I'm sure you can name the other one. Those areas are off my list for investing. I've included a chart as well for what happens to prices in areas with shrinking populations, such as Fort McMurray. It's not pretty. Again, I posted it in the show notes. So now, based on my current research, I like Austin and Dallas, Texas. I like Atlanta and Savannah, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona, and Memphis, Tennessee, specifically Memphis, Tennessee for cash flow. I have quite a few clients focusing on Tennessee because interest rates are high. We all know it, and it's not avoidable. It's unavoidable, but you could still positively cash flow in Memphis, Tennessee, even with today's historically high interest rates. All of the above locations are landlord and business friendly. As you see, all those areas attracting billions of dollars in investment from foreign investors and companies, and they all have institutional scale property management firms available for hire. So these are firms that have 800 to 3,000 houses under management in the city and are available to me via my partner at Share. So Share hires them, and because I am a client investor under Share, these property managers will service my properties as well. PM companies of scale do exist in Canada, but they typically want 100 doors or more before they take you on as a client. I don't have that kind of power. I don't have that kind of buying power or portfolio. And so there's not many of them, first of all. And then majority of property managers, the vast majority of property managers are small mom and pop shop, one-man show who contract everything out. Or you have institutional investors who have in-house property management who do not take on outside clients. For my friend in Alberta who works at a publicly traded company, again, I'm just trying to share with you all these data points that I have. So again, I have a friend of mine who works for a publicly traded company, and they have apartment buildings as part of their portfolio. So my point is the same cannot be said for Alberta. While Alberta is great, I love Alberta, I love Calgary, I love Canmore. I have many friends killing it in Alberta right now. But I can de-risk. I can have less risk in my investments and scale faster in somewhere like the States. Again, I know many people who promote Alberta as being the Texas of Canada. I prefer to invest in the Texas of the world. So my point about my friend who works for a publicly traded company in Alberta is he told me himself there are no large scale property managers available to even them. So they have to do their own property management in-house. So it's tough to scale a business when you have less options for outsourcing and quality property management. Speaking of scaling, my mortgages in the US will be commercial style, which are 10 times easier to scale than mortgages in Canada due to affordability. Properties are just way cheaper and rent for way more dollars. And I don't have to personally qualify for properties in the States. This will be especially useful for those of you out there who are like myself and self-employed. In case anyone wants to meet up. So another common question I get is, when are you going to be in Toronto? So I will be speaking at downtown Toronto, specifically the beach, at the Toronto Real Estate Investors Mastermind, May 28th, hosted by Volition Properties. That'll be in the evening. I have link. You can go to meetup.com/volition. I have a link in the show notes. Again, that's May 28th in the evening. I'll be there. I love to talk about real estate, and I like to have a drink or two. So hopefully I'll see you there, and I'll stick around for a drink or two, or 3 or 4. On to this week's show. We have Zac Killam, who is a real estate innovator and entrepreneur, a top 40 under 40 winner. He's made significant strides in the real estate industry. He has built a rapidly growing multifamily real estate business of a portfolio of 500 units. He's leveraging his entrepreneurial acumen to drive success in a competitive market. Beyond real estate, Zac founded Canada's largest taxi advertising network, the second largest globally, and a prop tech company that he's most well known in our community for, and that's called Front Lobby. Front Lobby has been pioneering rent reporting to credit bureaus in Canada, enabling renters to build their credit through their own monthly payments. Front Lobby is used by small mom and pop landlords. Myself, I suggest this to all my clients, and publicly traded real estate investment trusts use them as well. So join us on today's podcast, where we explore Zac Killam's real estate ventures and his innovative impact on the industry, which is making federal headlines because the federal government announced they want to make this happen. Rents being included on tenants' rent rolls, on their rent reporting, on their credit reporting, and this improves rent collection for all of us landlords, while tenants get to build credit. It's a win-win outcome. For more information on Front Lobby, simply go to frontlobby.com. frontlobby.com. Please enjoy the show. Hi, Zac. What's keeping you busy these days?
Hey, everyone. Well, quite a bit, but predominantly navigating the housing problems within Canada that seem to be compounding. And of course, as the co-founder of Front Lobby, the business is growing quickly, and we're trying to bring new products and services to the market.
Fabulous.
Yeah, but on the mind of late is the housing crisis that we have. And lots to say on that, but I think everyone already knows that rents have climbed quickly, and we don't have enough housing supply. But what
I have a crazy stat that'll blow your mind. I only saw it yesterday. Ben Rabideau, who's pretty active on Twitter, because building has really seized up since the rates started going up. Yeah. So the number he gave was, for every house being built, there's 20 immigrants for it. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's relatively common sense that if you increase the demand more quickly than supply can keep up, that you are going to result in a crisis.
Yeah, 20 to 1.
If it was not intentional. But you know what? One of the things that I think that too many people aren't realizing is that to solve that problem, you have to be supporting the small and medium housing providers too. And it seems like every policy is aimed at harming landlords, such as this federal government plan to increase capital gains. But what bothers me is a lot of people don't realize that this is hurting everyone. It's hurting housing providers, it's hurting renters, and it's hurting the housing supply. So
it's hurting doctors too.
and doctors and
Yeah.
many people. Certainly a lot more than the percentage that they would have us believe. But if you want more rental housing, we have to help the people who create that rental housing. And being a housing provider, as you well know personally, requires a ton of work and huge risks. But the what I think a lot of people don't know is that the majority of rental housing units in Canada, they're not owned by REITs. They're owned and provided by small and medium housing providers. And we have to help them. But the opposite is what is happening today. As you know, many housing providers are stopping investing in rental housing. They're stopping building more rental housing, and they're stopping investing in improving the rental housing they have.
Mm-hmm.
I hear through front lobby customer base all the time about housing providers they're taking their basement suites off the market. They're taking their condos off the market because people can't afford to provide housing in a legislative environment, which enables these intentional bad actors to not pay rent for months or even years. So, I read an article recently that suggested we lost 6,500 units just in Ontario in the past year as a result of people removing their secondary suites. And I have to ask, like, how many landlords have to share stories of being owed over $30,000 in back rent before things change?
Mm-hmm.
So, when we created Front Lobby, we did so for two reasons. One, we wanted to help housing providers protect their income and continue being able to provide housing. And we also wanted renters to be able to build credit with their rent payments. These are both things that I've personally had to experience over the years. And recently, as you would have read, the federal government announced that they want rent to count for credit. Of course, we've already been trailblazing that since 2018, but we welcome any increased awareness. Any increased awareness is good for everybody. The rent reporting that we've been doing in credit bureaus, it's incredibly beneficial for renters, for housing providers, and for the housing supply. So, I want to share, why, because I think it's not well enough understood. Not a lot of people know about it, but for housing providers, there's a reason that every industry reports to credit bureaus. And that's because it is effective. Reporting encourages on-time payments, it helps recover debts, and it rewards the positive behavior, which are all good things for our housing industry. People will say, well, it doesn't work in every situation, and that's true. Nothing does, but it works in many situations. So, every housing provider should be using it. And I think you said even just before the call, landlords would be crazy or negligent to not be using front lobby to do rent reporting.
Mm-hmm. I do think it's largely just an education piece, though. Most people just aren't aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for letting me share it.
That's why you're here, because we just need to get people to get educated on how to protect themselves.
That's right. And to enable people to help themselves in the industry by using, the tools that do exist, like front lobby. Aside from the individual housing provider, which is essential for us to even have a housing supply, the benefit of reducing the rental delinquencies to housing supply in general is it results in investment in more rental housing. It results in investment in people renovating the existing aged rental housing, and it results in people not eliminating their rental unit in Canada and taking their capital to the US to build another rental unit. But it is truly a both side of the coin equation. So for renters, we released a study in 2022 with Equifax that showed 48% of our renter members who reported through Front Lobby were currently scoreable solely on the rental data that was reported in Equifax. So, for all of us, you need a credit score to get credit cards, to get car loans, to buy homes, and some instances even to get jobs. And by getting a credit score or improving your credit score, it helps renters to save money with lower interest rates and the ability to use a credit card instead of having to use high interest payday loans, which is a terrible cycle.
Mm-hmm. Or high interest rate credit cards. I heard of those things just recently that are targeted towards international students.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And when speaking of international students, it also helps them to be able to rent the homes that they want, versus something less desirable. I've certainly heard that from front lobby members who've written in saying now they're actually able, because they could get a credit score, they can now rent the nice condo they wanted, perhaps versus the basement suite that they didn't want to rent. Anyway, credit matters for a whole host of reasons, but it's an effective way to build it. So, one of my frustrations is I think, too many people and too many articles, they talk about housing issues as if it's mutually exclusive. It's something that can't benefit everyone. If this happens, then it only benefits, one side of the coin, not the other. And it's just not true. I think as an example, like rent reporting is a win-win, but there's other things that can be done and the government could do as well, to help the industry as a whole and enable everybody to benefit. So thanks for letting me rant on that. That's what's top of mind at the moment. But you've used Front Lobby before, and how did it help you?
I love that it's automated, first of all, in that my tenants get an email when rent is due, and my tenants understand the implications if they're late. So they're being held accountable to their credit. It costs me really little. It's very automated. It's quite easy to set up, and everyone generally appreciates it. And again, my tenants or they understand the implications of being late, and so we still get to have flexibility to choose when to report late, but we can hold it over. We can hold our tenants accountable that, hey, you're getting a little bit too late now. Can you pay, or else we have to record this appropriately and make it a ding against their credit, which nobody wants. Right. And if nothing
Yeah,
else, when you're introducing the subject to someone during the tenant screening, tenant application process, if they refuse to do this, I think that's a red flag.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I completely agree. Um, it's interesting. I mean, rent reporting is still obviously a new thing, and lots of people are still unaware that it exists and that
Mhm.
they're able to do it. And the parallel to that is that mortgage payments weren't actually even reflected on people's credit reports approximately 15 years ago. So that was a relatively, yeah, I know, right? Surprise.
That's
I was very
odd.
surprised when I learned that as well. But
For most of the
reality,
people, it's by far their biggest debt expense.
of course,
It's
but
way
so is
bigger than people's car loans.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so is rent, right? Which is why rent ought to be on there as well. Because it again it shows the same level of, fiscal responsibility and can
Mhm.
have the same benefits. I think one of the challenges that we have is misinformation. I mean, it's
Mhm.
lack of awareness, which obviously, appreciate you helping us to generate, but there's also misinformation about, what can be done and what can't be done.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, just to share, you know this already. For our clients, as part of their checklist when they're closing on an income property, it's on there. Here's Front Lobby's website. Register an account. This is what you need to do to report your tenant's rent to their credit. Um, and that was before. That was like 3 years before you and I ever met. I forget. It may have been Kayla Andre that introduced it to me. Like, oh, this is wonderful. And I believe I met your wife. She was the one that walked my team and I through it. And then
Gotcha.
from that point on, that's when we recommended it to all of our clients. And we just did it because we thought it was best practice. There's nothing, we didn't ask for anything in return. Um, but
Gotcha.
for since we're here for education, can you let the listener know, like, what is the process to report one's tenant's rent to, and also anything else related to it, to Front
Yeah,
Lobby?
yeah, absolutely happy to. So FrontLine is the only platform, first of all, in Canada that enables any size housing provider. So whether they have one unit or tens of thousands of units, and as well
And you
as
have clients that do. We were just
and
talking
do.
about that before you're
Yeah,
recording.
that's right. Yeah, we have anywhere from one to tens of thousands of units. But it enables any size housing provider and any renter to start benefiting from rent reporting immediately. So how it works is it can be driven either way. Either the renter can choose to sign up, and then they're going to enter their lease details and their landlord's contact information, and then that's then going to be sent through our platform to the landlord, who is then able to verify the information is true or not, obviously. Or it can be driven by the landlord, the housing provider, and they're able to enter the lease information and then have that be sent through our platform to their renter to again to verify the information. Now, I'll preface what I'm about to say, but by Front Lobby has completed regulatory reviews with provincial and federal regulators, and the platform is fully compliant. It protects all users, housing providers and renters, from any misuse. So how it works is that if an individual always pays their rent on time, then the legislation that exists in Canada requires them to consent for that information to then be shared with the bureaus. So to take advantage of the positive aspects of credit building, the renter would either need to have agreed to that in their lease agreement, or they can sign up through our platform and then provide consent directly within the platform. If an individual is intentionally delinquent and does not pay their rent, then the legislation provides that then consent is not required, and that can then be reported to the bureaus without consent, and that has been confirmed by the Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada and is also in PIPEDA, which is the Personal Information Protection Electronic Documents Act, Section 7.3 sub B. So other misinformation, that I can probably clear up on this is you do not need a landlord-tenant board order to report debts. You certainly have to report accurately. So if there's any concern that the information you're going to report is not accurate, do not report it. It has to be accurate. You don't report damages. It's only unpaid rent. Utilities, if they're included in the lease, as part of the rent. And the benefits, housing providers report reducing delinquencies by 36 to 95% on average, and renters report seeing credit score increases between 35 to 120 points, which is obviously a life-changing credit score increase. Yeah,
That's pretty awesome. One of the reasons why we were recommending this to our clients was one of my team members. He was reporting missed rent, a significant amount. It was 5 figures. It was over $10,000. And then like 2 or 3 years after the tenant had left, they paid it back.
right.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure what the situation was, whether or not they're trying to get a loan or a mortgage. They realized that need to wipe out some of this bad credit in order to repair their credit in order to move on with their lives. So yeah, they paid a friend of mine, like, I forget the number. It was over 10,000. It was somewhere between 10 and 17,000, which is a lot of money.
Yeah, it's tremendous. I mean, it's the difference between them being able to pay the mortgage and keep that rental unit or have it foreclosed upon. Yeah.
Yeah, and not having to use a collections company, which would take, a percentage of the money recovered, which they're entitled to and they're worth it. Yep. But here they were able to do it at a very low cost.
Yeah. That's right. And we get a lot of testimonials, a lot of customers, right, and shared. I mean, it's really a horrible story it's wonderful that when there's a resolution, of course, but it's a horrible story that they had to go through it in the first place. This is an interesting story, but I remember the first customer who actually had that level of success had signed up to the platform and reported a debt, and they were owed around $30,000. And as soon as the process started through front lobby, it took about, I think it was a week or 2 weeks. Within that time period, the debtor actually contacted this lady and paid her the full amount in one check, because they didn't want it to actually be reflected on the credit report. So this is clearly a situation where someone had the money, because most people can't write a $30,000 check in one time. So they had the money and they were just intentionally not paying.
Terrible. And I think it deserves clarification. Like, you and I agree, most tenants are good people. I've only had 2 tenants in my career truly stiff me on rent, and that's after I've had a lot of tenants. So it's a very small percentage.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I was a renter for over 15 years, and so that was one of the impetus of this business. Is I actually asked my very first property manager at my first apartment when I was going to university. I asked if they could please include my rent payments on my credit report so that I could get a credit card, or a higher balance credit card, because at the time I could only qualify for a $300 balance.
You can't do nothing.
It's
not even a trip to Costco.
Well, that's right. You could not even actually, go and do a full grocery order. And they laughed at me and said that wasn't possible. And so I never forgot that. And then when I came upon this opportunity, that was a big impetus, because I remembered, how beneficial it would have been to be able to build credit more quickly and then get access to some of those financial instruments at a younger age. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's reported to people's Equifax if someone doesn't pay rent, which is
quite accessible, and that's standard practice basically when anyone does a credit check on tenants during the application process. So they will
Yeah,
find out about it.
it's a simple concept, and it's not a concept that we invented. I mean, we wanted to help the industry, so we chose a solution that's worked for decades, since long before you and I were born, which is reporting information to credit bureaus. And that's why credit bureaus exist. Is it creates that accountability and also creates that reward. So simple solution, but it hadn't been brought to the housing industry,
Mm-hmm.
and it needed to be. And so the results have been nothing short of incredible for both housing providers and renters. And I encourage everyone to sign up and to get the word out, because the more people using it, the better it is for everyone.
Well, the federal government wants to roll this out nationally. Have they been in contact with you?
So I mean, what they have said is they want to support rent being included on credit reports, and they want to effectively encourage the institutions or the stakeholders in the industry to do so. So that would be financial institutions and landlords and renters. So we've already been working with all those various stakeholders for years, and those conversations certainly continue. What's great about shining that spotlight and bringing that awareness is it just lets a lot more people know that this exists, and therefore they're able to then quickly Google it and see, okay, who are the providers who enable us to actually go about doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say to all tenants that they need to be knowing about this. You almost think that our government should be letting international students, for example, know as part of their welcome package, like this is how you build credit. This is the fastest way, one of the fastest way to build credit. Here's front lobby.
That's right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
cost you anything to make your landlord pay for it.
Well,
Am I right?
either way, it's very inexpensive, whether the renter's paying for it or the landlord's paying for it.
how,
It's
how
so
much is it?
inexpensive.
How much is
It's
it?
phenomenal.
$1,000 a
For
month? What is it?
for renters, it's about $5 a month is all. But if the landlord or the housing provider is providing it, then it's free. And to the housing provider, it's only $239 for the year. So, very inexpensive. What is that? Maybe less than the cost of a single landlord-tenant board application?
Yeah, let's not even go there. Because we're not even talking about the mental grief of having to take time off and do all this extra min work, and it's
Well,
even
that's right.
painful just to prepare N4s.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the delinquencies create a tremendous amount of time and energy loss for everybody involved, which they then can't put into something more productive, like potentially, renovating the unit, or, searching for another unit to acquire. So that also, of course, was the other side of our mission, is to reduce those delinquencies. We have to support our housing industry, and we have to support the small and medium housing providers who are providing most of the housing. Because if we don't, then it's going to continue to be lost, and they're not going to invest in additional housing, and the housing supply crisis is going to get worse, and rents are going to continue to increase, which I mean, we don't want as a society, or else people aren't going to be able to afford the basic necessities of life. So, this is not the rent report is not the solve all, but it is definitely a component that helps to provide a solution.
It's definitely a low hanging fruit solution for landlords
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's really no alternative
Well,
in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, your
No.
alternatives, as you said, are filing with the LTB and going through that time and headache. And unfortunately, right now, with the way that the delays are, the time to a resolution is so long. A lot of people can't afford to wait that long.
Yeah, and people need to understand, like, if the tenant's not paying you rent, they're entitled to their hearing, and they can choose not to pay you during that time. And even once the ruling is done, they can pay you, make you whole. But man, to be like 9-12 months without cash, without rent, that'd be devastating for many people.
Yeah, the same. Yeah. There's a lot of pretty sad news articles that you see on a weekly basis about the situations that small landlords are dealing with. And on the flip side, there's a lot of hard situations that renters are dealing with, and so at least get credit for your rent, because that's one way that you can improve your financial access and opportunity, I suppose, for other housing, but also to access other financial products. One example that I think is really important is car loans. So if you have a very small increase in your credit score, you all of a sudden will qualify on your car loan for a much lower interest rate. And the savings really stack up. You can save $5,000-$10,000 in a very short period of time by having that lower interest rate on your car loan. Not to mention, obviously, other financial products. But it's really impactful. And when you think about something like that, that then benefits both the housing provider and the renter, because now the renter has lower expenses, so they're better able to afford the rent. And for the renter, obviously, they're able to save more money, and ultimately, hopefully, achieve their financial goals.
What prevents damages from being reported? Is there a certain law or privacy thing? What is that?
It's not related to the legislation. It's related to how the bureaus themselves want to ingest information.
Okay.
And so the way the front lobby works is front lobby is sharing rental information. So that's why.
Got it. Now, front lobby does more than just rent reporting. I recall you rolled out several other products like quite a while ago.
Yeah, that's right. We have a tenant screening suite as well, so you can do your tenant screening, and it's $9.99 to pull a credit report. You can pull background checks. You can pull tenant records. You can also do record keeping management within the platform. So yeah, you're not only getting rent reporting for the $239 per year.
Where can people find more information on all this? Do we have a discount code? Do I still have a discount code?
I believe you do. The website, of course, is frontlobby.com. So very, very simple. And there's lots of information on there. The sign up is free, and then you can look around and decide then what an individual wants to do.
Remind me what again? The company used to have a different name, just so people I just want to make people to make sure that they're in the right place. Because you guys did a rename about 3 years ago, was it?
So there's always been two different companies, but previously both companies were operating under the same brand trademark.
Got it.
And that was causing, unfortunately, unintended confusion. So then we separated the two. So there's an affiliated company which is called Landlord Credit Bureau, and that's a licensed consumer reporting agency, or commonly known as a credit bureau in Canada, that enables tenant records to be reported, and then they're provided on the tenant screening reports that are done through Front Lobby. So you actually then get access to a proper tenant record, which shows, on a monthly basis, whether it was paid on time or paid late or not paid at all, as well as contact information for the housing provider who's providing that information. So a real verified reference can be gotten.
Who uses that service?
So that is facilitated right now through Front Lobby. So by utilizing Front Lobby for rent reporting, you're going to report both to Equifax and Landlord Credit Bureau. And then when you pull a tenant screening report through Front Lobby, you're going to get access to both the records at Equifax and Landlord Credit Bureau.
Oh, so it's more complete screening then.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, and it enables you to get that verified landlord reference. Because one of the problems that I think all of us have experienced is if someone is an intentional bad actor, then that reference information that they're providing, that email address or that phone number for the supposed existing or former landlord, is fake. So what we do is we compile accurate records. It's ID verified. We've confirmed that this person is who they say they are and that they are in fact the landlord, and then they're able to provide this information. That then is delivered to our customers when they're doing their screening, so that they can confirm that this information is true, and they can actually contact that landlord for additional reference questions if they wish.
And you're it's always almost all my guests on the show are investors too, and you are an investor yourself. Can you tell us about your investment journey?
Yeah, it's been tumultuous, but really positive.
Yes. For
it's
most, it's
not
been
easy.
tumultuous. We made a lot of money. It hasn't been the easiest though.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of late nights and stressful days on all journeys, I think. But in any event, yeah, we began. I typically work with various partners of mine, and we began investing about a decade ago, I guess now, in rental housing in Ontario and British Columbia.
And then what was your strategy of choice? Single family homes, Airbnb, apartment buildings, all the above?
Uh, small apartment buildings, and ideally ones that we can improve somehow. Um, but yeah, not big enough pockets to buy the really big buildings. But prefer the multifamily over single family.
And how's that gone? Are you still holding most of them? Some here and
Yeah,
there?
yeah, we are. We have approximately 500 rental units now.
And they're all front lobby clients? Oh, actually, this would be useful for the listener, I think. Pretend I'm the tenant and I've never heard of front lobby and you'd like to be us to be using it. You're the landlord, I'm the tenant. Tell me about tell me pitch me front lobby.
Yeah, okay, certainly. So, I mean, this could take place at any time in the journey. This could be at the application stage. It could be at the leasing stage, or it could be after the leasing stage.
Mhm. What
So,
would the
from
ideal
there,
be? When would you want to
uh,
introduce it?
well, the best case scenario is to include the free lease clauses, or application lease clauses that we have on our website. There's a link to it in the footer of frontlobby.com. But that makes people aware of that this rent reporting can occur, and the benefits and potential accountability that results from it. So by putting it in the application, you hopefully encourage individuals who are intentionally coming in and planning on not paying to self-select out, and you're letting know the vast, as we agreed, majority that they're going to have this option that they can opt into, and therefore then get the benefit of reporting. But for a lot of customers, they're signing up, say today, and they obviously don't have those clauses in their application or lease. So they're able to log into the platform. They're able to set up a lease record. They're able to enter in their renter's contact information, and then they're able to communicate with their renter through their account with Front Lobby. And so that's a communication that they're choosing then to send out from their account to their renter. And there's a variety of different communications that they can choose to turn on or off. But the one in the instance that you're speaking of would be referred to as the welcome email. And so what that does is it then lets like, hey Erwin, you're a great tenant, appreciate you, and effectively here's the benefits that you can glean from consenting to rent reporting. And obviously they are potential increase to your credit score, but building out your credit file, potentially reduced interest rates on various things as we've discussed, those
Mhm.
types of things. And then giving you instructions for how you can choose to sign up and opt in and give consent if you so desire.
Yeah, and this is like as a landlord myself, when I do credit checks on my tenants, then I have credit history that backs up what they say, where they've been living.
That's right.
Like everything just looks more legitimate.
Yeah, that's
It's no
right.
different
And
than like a
so,
job interview when someone has like a gap in their work experience. You start to ask questions.
yeah, yeah, that's right. And so, we've had many customers write in and say that what they were able to do with that landlord credit bureau tenant record is they were then able to show that to a potential housing provider to show, hey, I do have this positive history. This is real. This is not a fake reference. And therefore, particularly say for a newcomer to the country, when they don't have that history, they're able to demonstrate, no, I do have this great history of with someone else and paying on time every month, and therefore they can rent the unit that they actually want to rent.
Yeah, there's
So,
really no losing.
puts them at the head of the queue.
Yeah, there's really no lose to this for the tenant unless
That's
they
right.
don't pay rent.
Yeah, and only if it's intentionally not paying rent, really. I mean, I am not
Yes.
aware of any instance where a housing provider, who has an individual renter who can't pay rent through no choice of their own, but are being communicative and are saying, I am going to pay this back. Can we agree to a payment plan? I'm not aware of anyone who ever reports those individuals. In fact, how our platform works is you're able to sign up and then record the payment plan details. And then as long as that payment plan is being adhered to, still get the benefits of rent reporting with zero negative consequences. So we're really only talking about the intentional bad actors, but unfortunately, we do read in the news every day or week of intentional bad actors who have been doing this, to multiple successive housing providers and never paying rent or gaming the systems they don't have to pay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, can you tell us how? Because I believe your co-founder had a lot to do with the starting of this company as well. Can you hear that? Can you share that story? Like this goes back. Like Front Lobby's pretty old, is it not?
So you're now speaking of the predecessor of LCB. So Front Lobby was a new birth out of this journey. But yes, the original founder of LCB, wonderful gentleman,
Right.
very well versed in fraud prevention and credit reporting, and laid the foundation that the entire rent reporting industry now works upon. But I originally became a customer, and started using the product for a while, and thought this is a really great idea. This is something that needs to be accessible to everyone, housing providers and renters, so
Yeah.
they can reap the benefits of it.
Yeah.
And then I contacted the original founder and asked if I could be part of it. So that was a number of years ago now, and here we are.
Yeah, I understand it was like you were a customer of like the analog version.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that we made many improvements to the subsequent business, and enhanced it, and
Mhm.
hopefully made it easier to use and easier to find, and all those good things.
What was the
But
original business like? It was like fax machine, like there was like a hard copy book and a ledger that was handwritten. Like, what was it originally like?
no, 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 no. I'm not aware of any fax machine or hand ledger. Funny though. That's dating us, Erwin. I think a lot of people today may have never even heard of it, or at least never utilized a fax machine.
But my
But
understanding is that you brought technology to the business to enable it to scale and also to make it way easier, lower the cost, and also provide scale. Because
yeah,
could you imagine having a housing provider of like 10,000 units plus on the old version?
that's right. Now, I certainly alone am not taking credit for all of this. We have an awesome team who's put in a ton of hours over the last 5 years, to turn it into what it is today. But so the premise for the business existed, and the functionality existed, and it was working, and we took that and made it all better, and easier to use, because we're all busy. And so, as you mentioned earlier, we need it to be automated as much as it possibly can. We also have to make sure that it's done in a compliant fashion from a legal standpoint. We also have to want to ensure that everybody's protected and utilizing the platform. So there's a lot of safeguards built in that are operating, behind the scenes, that the user wouldn't even be conscious of, that are protecting all the different parties involved, the renter and the housing provider. And then of course to bring it to market, so to package it and promote it in a way that it would reach the masses. And we've signed up a lot of housing providers in Canada, and continue to add many more every day.
Is this available to Americans?
Yep, there is also available in the US. So we have another entity that operates in the States. Yeah.
Pardon the ignorance. Do Americans report to Equifax too?
Yeah, so there's a slightly different landscape down in the US. There's 3 credit bureaus in the US, and there's 2 in Canada. Of course, TransUnion in Canada is not currently accepting rental trade information, but will be in the future. In the US, all 3 bureaus accept rental trade information, but they have different parameters for what they do with it, and what type of information that they accept. But certainly, yeah, you can go on to frontlobby.com and you can toggle between the Canada and the US website, and then you can sign up for either or both, and utilize it for your rental portfolio down there as well. Yeah.
Now you've had some exposure to landlord rights in the States. Did you previously know about how landlord friendly the laws are in like the southern states, for example?
I no, not. I mean, certainly not before getting into this business. I wasn't particularly aware of any of the laws that exist,
Hmm.
you know, especially in the States. But I am intrigued by that. Do tell me more. What is the situation in the southern states?
The analogy I give to investors is most educated investors, folks who've been around and done some research, they understand. Like I'm in Ontario, used to be in Ontario. Commercial real estate in Ontario is it's very different than residential real estate in terms of landlord rights and financing. Like financing is, it's based on the deal, right? What kind of rents come in? Because can it cover all the costs? And if it does, then generally you get your financing. You don't have to personally qualify. And with the rules, right? If my commercial tenant, if they don't pay me, I can kick them out in about 30 days, right? And in the States, where it's landlord friendly, like Texas, Tennessee, Georgia, Ohio, a whole lot of them, Alabama, generally the southern, Florida, um, yeah, 30, 60 days to remove a poorly behaving tenant.
Hmm.
So there's probably less demand for for front lobby there, but California and New York City are very large, and Seattle. I think if you're looking for target markets, I'd be focusing my attention there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd say keep in mind is there are actually lots of housing buyers who sign up because they want to offer the positive credit building benefit.
Yes, that is beneficial
Um,
for all. Yeah.
yeah, there's very much both sides of the equation present. There's those who
Hmm.
are dealing with unfortunate delinquencies, and there's those who just want to help help
Hmm.
help their renter base. And I'd say most people want to do both.
Hmm. I'll add to that though for the small provider. It's been because a small provider, someone who has like 1, 4 properties, doesn't have any automation or technology in their business typically. So by using front lobby, just the email reminders is lovely. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
You don't
it's
have to do
true.
anything else.
Yeah, it's true. A
Right?
reminder that rent is due in a couple of days is helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
A reminder that your rent hasn't been paid is very useful.
right? Yep. That's helpful as well. And
Yeah.
all of it is automated through the platform. As you know, I mean, it's a very easy platform to use, but it packs a lot of benefits.
So what's the future for front lobby? Again, like you guys are the only game in town, and the government wants this to happen.
Yeah,
Because
there's
it has to start with the landlord, does it not? Who else can report rent? Who else is reporting rent?
so it's quite important, and yes, you're right. Most of the bureaus requirement is that it involves both sides of the equation. So you need the housing provider and you need the renter
Hmm.
involved both to confirm the accuracy of the information, and that's really important. There is experiments that that take place with respect to self-reporting, so in that enabling an individual to report their own rent payments, and I
Holding your oneself accountable.
well, yeah, that's right, and obviously it raises questions around the
Yeah.
accuracy of the data and how that's confirmed, and then of course it raises questions around, well, if that individual decides to stop paying, then they're presumably going to
Yeah.
sign opt out of the service at that point, and therefore artificially enhance their credit
Yeah,
report.
it's flawed.
Uh,
I don't stick to my diet 100%. No
yes,
one's perfect, right?
yeah,
We're all human.
that's very true. So yeah, our platform requires both parties' involvement in the sense that everyone is aware of what's been reported and therefore have the opportunity to correct any errors that exist.
Hmm.
For the renter who always pays on time, they have to consent. For the renter who doesn't and owes a debt, they're going to be notified. They're definitely, we want to make sure that they're aware, and we want to make sure if there's any error that is then rectified so that it's not reported. But in any event, if it's not an error and it is in fact accurate information, then of course it's getting reported regardless of consent or not.
Has anyone from the federal government contacted you? Like they just thought of this out of the air and didn't bother. They must have done some research and said hello to you.
We have not been speaking to the federal government. No, we prefer to not be involved in any politics. We are definitely speaking to government institutions like CMHC and like a number of the larger financial institutions about
Right.
how to incorporate this, but not specifically to the federal government.
Interesting. Because if I work for the feds and I want to do some research how this works, I'd call Zac. I wonder what they are planning to do and how they've researched this idea and plan on executing. When you've been doing this for quite a long time already.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly are the trailblazers of rent reporting in Canada. But in any event, I'm not the best resource for the question of how the federal government works.
I think the joke I emailed you was like, they're going to come up with the next ArriveCan app, the next Front Lobby app. Hopefully they'll hire you to do it.
Yeah. Good joke.
It's a joke, folks. One of the reasons why we're entrepreneurs and real estate investors is to limit our tax liability to the government. And most of us want to leave legacies of charitable donations to efficient charities so that our hard work and money that we make is well spent and not leave it to the government. Because we have lots of precedent, like the ArriveCan app, on what happens when you let the government deal with stuff.
Yeah, I've read some articles on that. That's a pretty wild tale. It'd be interesting to see what the outcome of it all is.
Not to just pick on that one. There's plenty of history of government waste. So yeah, so that, my preference is to leave my money to efficient charities when I pass, not to the government.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think probably most Canadians feel comfortable, paying taxes if they feel that those taxes are then used for positive things.
Doctors, nurses, roads, police. I love them all.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Those things and more. I think, in a state where it seems like the money is excessively being wasted, then it's a pretty hard pill to swallow to think that, you're being forced to pay more and more taxes every year, but that's actually not going to anything that's benefiting the country. In fact, it's harming the country.
Yeah. I made the joke on my Facebook. I feel like the services I'm getting are totally improving. I don't know the last time CRA took my call. For anyone who gets the joke, they know when you call CRA, they don't answer the phone, so it's just bonkers. Trying to get clarification how I can pay my taxes, they don't answer the phone.
Well, it is tax season, so
I mean like any time of the year.
Anytime. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, thanks, everyone.
Yeah, Zac, any final thoughts you want to share about Front Lobby or investing in general? You want to rant some more?
I think it's incumbent upon all stakeholders in the industry to take advantage of the tools and the services that exist to help ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have to help ourselves and we have to help each other. And Front Lobby is one of those tools, and there's definitely other tools out there. So I appreciate having the opportunity today to share some of the benefits of this one.
One last time, where can folks find out more about Front Lobby?
Yep. So go to frontlobby.com and sign up is free, no credit card required. You can poke around and then determine how you want to use the service.
And folks can also do tenant screening there as well?
You bet.
And the tenant can initiate that as well if they want to?
Yep. You bet. Renters can sign up for free as well and create their own lease record and have that sent to their housing provider for verification.
Wonderful. Like, how nice would that be when your tenant comes prepared for a showing? I understand my Toronto friends, that always happens. Tenants come prepared with everything. Credit reports, bank statements, versus in like Hamilton, they're like, you can't ask for those things.
So always impressive and appreciated when people prepare for things.
Absolutely, because it makes you stand out.
Yeah.
All right, Zac, thanks again for doing this.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well.
I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.